Hey everybody, welcome back to Guns and Gadgets. I appreciate your time. Thank you for watching. If you're new here, Guns and Gadgets is where you'll get Second Amendment news on a daily basis, oftentimes multiple times a day. So with that said, please check back here on the channel regularly, just in case YouTube's algorithm doesn't put the information out, especially as we get closer to the election. It's common for them to kind of suppress the truth around our rights. How can you fight that? You can subscribe to the channel. That helps greatly. You can also like the video and share the video, and also commenting helps tremendously. You can also toggle that bell notification to all notifications, and that should help you get the information. Now, I wanted to start today off with some good news. The New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruin case that was decided by the United States Supreme Court, in which Clarence Thomas said that in order for any type of infringement to stand, any type of law that government has produced to stand when it restricts the Second Amendment, it must pass the text, history, and tradition test. That is the only test. If it's not in the text of the Second Amendment itself, it must pass the history and tradition of the country at around the time that the Second Amendment was adopted in 1791. Now, we've seen a couple courts try to change that and say, well, you know, back in 18-something, we had this law for 100 years, a la New York. So that should be, good enough to pass text, history, and tradition. And we're seeing that they have not. So I have compiled, I think it's eight. I got to look at my list. But we've had at least 7 or 8 major victories since the Bruin decision has come down only 3 months ago. And this, I believe, is just the beginning of what this landmark case is going to correct. So the first two, and these are not in any particular order. The first two, let's just go to Colorado. Judges there in Colorado have stated that 2 different local assault weapon bans are unconstitutional. Superior and Boulder, if I remember correctly. So that is 1 and 2. 2 assault weapon bans have been deemed unconstitutional, and that is still going forward, but that would have never happened if we didn't get this text, history, and tradition test from the Supreme Court. So that's 1 and 2. Number 3 will be the obliterated serial number decision that came down just a couple weeks ago. A judge said that requiring somebody or charging somebody if they had a firearm with no or an obliterated serial number, that's unconstitutional because that was never required back when the text, history, and tradition test takes place. And that's a big one right there. That's number 3. Number 4 is those folks who are deemed federally prohibited while under an indictment. They haven't been found guilty of anything. They've just been indicted. Well, until 2-3 weeks ago, those people were federally prohibited from purchasing a firearm or having their Second Amendment right. And a judge said, you can't do that. That's unconstitutional. Those people haven't even been found guilty. How can you take away their rights if they're not guilty of anything? And that's solid. That's number 4. Number 5, we'll go to Texas. And Texas, an appeals court said that a section of Texas's constitutional carry law, specifically saying that folks 18, 19, and 20 years old could not conceal carry, was unconstitutional. They have the right to conceal carry for their self-defense. You go all the way back to the beginning of the country. People who were younger than 18, 19, and 20 were actually part of creating this country, fighting the British and stuff like that. Now that one, a lot of people are saying 4D chess, because that one is actually, people are saying that the reason why Texas's Attorney General has appealed this to keep it on the books, they're saying that somehow all the judges in line, all the way up to the Supreme Court, are going to all agree at one time and get this through to the Supreme Court where we're ready and willing to A, take it up, which isn't guaranteed, and B, rule in favor. I don't know about the 4D chess angle. I think I'm not always a pessimist, but I'm not always an optimist, and I'm not sure about that. That's asking a lot for that to happen, but a lot of people think that is the case. The next one is the Delaware ghost gun ban struck down. That was big too. That speaks volumes for Joe Biden's attack or attempted attack to take away the ability of people to make their own gun, which they've been doing since prior to the beginning of this country. The next 2, we're going to go to New York, which has been wonderful on this stage of correcting things the way they should have been. constitutionally speaking, when it comes to the Second Amendment. And New York got hit pretty hard. Now, New York was the center of the Bruin decision, in which the Supreme Court said that their good cause requirement to get a concealed carry permit was unconstitutional. And that's not counted here. That's not one of these 8 that I'm telling you about, but they're the focus of that. So in return, New York thumbed its nose at the Constitution and the Supreme Court and said, we're going to pass even more stringent gun control. So there, 2 more on this list are New York. The first one is all of the sensitive places that they created, as well as like the social media for the past 3 years during your background check, stuff like that. Well, a judge came out in the Gun Owners of America case and said that's all unconstitutional. Can't do that stuff. And there was a temporary restraining order issued, and New York, in an emergency effort, went to the Second Circuit Court of Appeals, and they said, we're going to stay that until the injunction hearing comes up. So they're still ruled unconstitutional. The appeals court said, let's pump the brakes a little bit. Let's get to this hearing and see what the hearing says. But they were still deemed unconstitutional. So that is a big win. And then just a couple days ago, the big decision that came down from that CCIA, the Concealed Carry Improvement Act that Kathy Hochul passed, is New York's outright ban on concealed carry in places of worship is also unconstitutional. And many of these that I'm telling you, I've done videos on, and I'll link them above as I can here on YouTube. But that's, I think that's all 8. Let me see. Serial numbers, prohibited while under indictment, under 21, Delaware, both in New York, both in Colorado. Yeah, 8 big corrections / victories post New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruin. And like I said, this impact of the Bruin decision, this landmark decision, is only just getting started. We're just seeing the tip of the iceberg on this. There's a lot more that, in my opinion, there's a lot of anti-gun laws that were thrown on the books based off of the balancing test that Clarence Thomas and the Supreme Court said that's unconstitutional, can't do that. There's a lot of laws that were passed just on that alone, and those will all fall. Those will all fall. It's a good time to be a Second Amendment person, whether you are a shooter, hunter, advocate, somebody who's just getting into the game, somebody who's been in the game for many moons. It's a good time right now because we're seeing the efforts of a lot of hard work, and these laws are being struck down. There will be more. Mark my words, there will be many more that are struck down. And if you want to stay in the loop to hear about them as they happen, subscribe to Guns and Gadgets. I will get you that information as fast as things happen here in the Second Amendment community, and I'll bring it to you. Whether it's good, bad, ugly, or indifferent, you'll find it here every single day. All you got to do is subscribe, hit that bell icon, toggle it to all notifications, and while you're here, like, share, and comment. It really helps the channel. And until we see each other again, be safe, stay vigilant, and carry a gun to keep you, your friends, your family, your community safe, because that's what the Second Amendment is for, and all the anti-gunners are finding that out left and right. I'll see you on the next one, y'all. Have a great day. Take care.